If you're going to invite one, you got to invite everybody. Or at least if you're going to invite one twin, you have to invite the other twin. That was her understanding, or that was her struggle on Friday.
Yeah, so her daughter is 9 years old, and she wants to have her first sleepover with a friend of hers for her birthday. Problem is, her best friend also has a twin, and whenever they play outside of the house, well, they all play together, and because of that, Mom felt like she was obligated to invite the other twin over whenever she invited her daughter's best friend over. But her daughter mentioned that the other twin can be, quote-unquote, kind of mean sometime, and she doesn't have as much fun when both of them are around. So that's the dilemma that Mom is having. And for the next sleepover, does she have to invite the twin if the daughter has mentioned she only wants one to come over?
Now, we will get back into our opinions on this when we read the follow-up, but Kristen and Cassie were really feeling like, hey, you got to invite both. That would really, really hurt if you're the other twin and you didn't get invited. And I'm like, you know what? Time to start learning to deal with this disappointment.
Yeah, for me, and if the other twin wasn't doing anything outrageous as far as like behavioral issues and bullying her daughter and stuff like that, I think that's a different conversation. But in this instance, if you were going to have a sleepover and you typically spend most of your time with both of them, and that's how like the email read, that when she hangs out with them, she hangs out with both of them, I thought it would be pretty damaging to invite one twin and not the other.
All right, let's read the update, and then we can get back in it, and then I'll throw it to Cassie, who I am starting to learn her looks very, very well. She is ready. Okay.
Hi, Tommy. The issue has been resolved. I ended up going directly to the girl's mom. I was about 75% honest and told her that my daughter really liked both of her daughters and enjoyed being friends with both of them. However, I explained that she feels closer to one in particular, and since they had spent so much time together at school, she was wondering if there was a way that she could spend time with just her. I told her that my daughter missed having solo time with the one twin since they hadn't been at school and playing together at recess. The twins' mom seemed completely fine with the idea. She said they are together all the time and they actually enjoyed the opportunity to be apart or spend time with friends separately. I asked if it would be okay if my daughter invited just the one twin to spend the night for her birthday. She said that would be totally fine and that she would take the opportunity to invite the friend of the other twin to spend the night at their house. That way, both girls get solo time with a friend. So in the end, I think it's going to be just fine, and my daughter will have the sleepover she had wanted.
Okay, so that's a nice compromise right there. Everybody seems happy there.
I think the mom handled it really well. That way the other twin doesn't feel left out. She has a friend come over to her house. Twin goes over to her house. Yeah, it seems like a smart idea.
For whatever reason, this popped into my head a couple of different times over the weekend. And because you used the word devastated on Friday, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think this is a situation where somebody is devastated. I think that at some point or another, as a parent, I have to guide my kid through a disappointment or disappointments. So for me to try to shield them from those each and every day doesn't build up any grit at all.
And I agree with you. I honestly do, because I definitely had devastating moments, which is why I said that in an instance like this, where, you know, you have a trio of friends and two of the girls spend the night and you're the one left out. I remember that feeling.
And it hurt.
And I was devastated and I was distraught, and I don't forget that. But I do recognize, having experienced that, I never want anybody else to feel that way. So I learned to have empathy in those situations. And I think in the long run, it made me a better person that since that happened to me. But the mom in me is like, I don't want my child to experience that.
I know this is going to sound really weird. I do not mind my kids getting hurt. I actually want them to get hurt. I actually want them to fail at things. I want them, and I was probably too protective of Hayden when he was younger and learned that lesson. But to build that kind of grit, letting him deal with that kind of disappointment so it won't be quote unquote devastating when it happens. It's hurtful, that's for sure. But devastating seems harsh.
Not for me, because I remember being that young girl and I was devastated. And that was an accurate description personally for me, for my emotions. Now, I think there's two different things here. And I wholeheartedly agree with everything you're saying. I also think there's an important lesson for kids to learn about exclusion and not ever excluding anybody, and that's a sucky feeling. So it just completely depends on the situation here, as far as you want to teach a kid grit, but you also want to teach a child it's never good to exclude somebody.
Yeah, I can't argue with that, except on the other side to say that exclusion happens in real life, and she's going to feel this her entire life.
But it doesn't mean you should allow your child to do that just because other people are going to do that.
Cass, go ahead.
No, I'm
afraid.
agree.
I'm afraid.
So like, at the end of the day, I'm not a mom to twins. So if a mom to twins is, and we had one call up too, says this is kosher, it's cool, then I have to be like, okay, well, you would know better than I ever would. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I know the world is a really uncaring, unforgiving, harsh place.
Have your kids start to learn that immediately.
No, that's my point. That doesn't mean we have to throw them into the gauntlet. You can choose to teach them. Like, we have a book we read, my kid Hazel, that says like, hey, you're not going to be invited to every party. And that's okay. It's literally in the book. So we're teaching her that. It doesn't mean she has to go through the process to learn it. There are things you can teach your kids and still keep the world relatively safe and feeling good while they're kids, and still impart those life lessons. And I just think like something like this, when the three of you have been hanging out, then all of a sudden one gets the boot. Mm-hmm. If she didn't have another sleepover to go to, that would be really hurtful.
But there's no better education. I mean, you can read this in a book on how it's going to feel and how you're going to deal with it, or you can experience it. So, and you just can't protect them from experiencing that and learning from it and growing from it, so they are stronger after, right? When does that start?
Well, you can teach, though, also you can teach your kids and help other people realize, like, hey, sometimes your actions are harmful and there are ways around it. You know, if you want to sleep over with just the best friend, that's fine. Like, I would probably be like, start distancing yourself from the other twin first. So you're not going from hanging out all the time to dropping her like a hot potato. You know, it's teaching your kids that their actions have consequences and their actions have an impact on other people as well.
Yeah, I think we're talking about two different things. We're talking, the one angle is, do I allow my daughter to do this to somebody else? Mm-hmm. And the other one is, how does the daughter that did get excluded, how does she absorb that, and how do I handle her getting absorbed? I wish there was a manual. I'd be reading it every single day.
So when you having kids, Mo?
Yeah.
Ooh, no time soon.
It's a Bert Show.
The Bert Show.
So first, thanks for watching. Second, you like what you just watched? That just scratches the surface. Get the Bert Show on any podcast platform. We're so good.